Bemis. John, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How about you, Rob?
I am excellent. I got through the whole intro, so now, we're calm. We can just chat.
Well, I've been looking forward to this.
I appreciate you making the time, because I am been a fan of yours for, I was looking back, I think about 9 years now,
Oh,
since I first encountered you with the 9 pound hammer,
wow.
and became a fan immediately. And I really enjoyed the wooden prints. Hold it up for anybody watching. Um, so I'm terrible about summarizing other people's biographies and other people's books. So probably the best place to start is if you just would give esteemed audience kind of an overview of your career thus far.
Sure, yeah. Well, I came at being a children's book author by way of being an elementary school teacher. I taught fourth and fifth grade for, I guess, 13 years, and it was during that time that I was spending a lot of time, obviously talking about books with my kids, reading books together, it ignited that side of me that always loved writing books, but pushed it up to a new level. And as you mentioned, that first book, The 9 Pound Hammer, came out 10 years ago, just like maybe 2 weeks ago. It hit its 10-year anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yes. And that's one of six, is that right? Six novels that I've done. The 9 Pound Hammer is the first book in a trilogy, the CLOCKWORK Dark trilogy. And I did a post-apocalyptic animal novel after that, The Prince Who Fell from the Sky. And then the new series that we're going to be talking about, this Out of Abaton with The Wooden Prince and Lord of Monsters. Also, I did one picture book for Heifer International. It's a little different kind of experience. It was not with a traditional publisher, but it was, Heifer's one of those organizations, relief organizations that works to help fight hunger and poverty around the world. And so I got to go to Rwanda and do research there, meeting families to write that picture book, which is called Flora and the Runaway Rooster. And so that's been my book career with that. And of course, as a writer, as a working artist, we do a lot of other things as well. And I do a lot of, in addition to doing school visits, of course, just as part of my author job. I continue to love to teach, but now I'm teaching classes and workshops for kids, but also for adults who are interested in children's book writing. So I still get to scratch that little teaching itch that I have. So.
Fantastic. Are you teaching coming up anytime soon where people could sign up to come see you?
Well, if people are in North Carolina, I am teaching some writing workshops that here in the Triangle area. I'm in Hillsborough, which is just outside of kind of Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area. And so, yeah, I have a couple of weekend workshops, one on deepening our characters, and I've got another one coming up in November that is on so you finished a first draft, and it's kind of helping people to think about those next steps with revisions, just making sure the novel that they're working on is as strong as possible, and how to start that process of submitting to agents, the whole publication journey.
Yes, as long and pleasurable as it always is.
Right. It has its ups and downs. that roller coaster
ride. Make a mental note, knowing that you're teaching a whole course on revision. I'm definitely going to pick your brain on revision before we're done, because it sounds like you've got some great insight and are willing to share.
Thanks. Yeah, I would love to talk.
I hope, or maybe that's behind a paywall. I got to come to North Carolina for that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We'll give people a preview, so for those who can't make it.
Perfect. Look, good for you giving back to the author community.
Thanks.
You got a pretty big author community there in Hillsborough, right? Like Stephen Messer and other folks that you've known.
Yeah, there are. Well, I mean, in the children's book world, North Carolina, it's just jam-packed with a lot of great children's book authors. But in Hillsborough specifically, this little town that I live in, it's got to just be 6,000, maybe 5,000, 6,000 people, relatively small. But I remember our public library did a display back at Christmas where they put up all the books for Hillsborough area writers, and there was, I think, 70, 80 different people. So there's a lot of writers in Hillsborough, which makes it a wonderful place to live, a really creative environment, and fun being around all those folks. Not as many children's book writers in Hillsborough. A lot of the Hillsborough writers are those kind of icons of Southern literature, Lee Smith and Alan Gurganus and Jill McCorkle and even Frances Mays, who wrote Under a Tuscan Sun, lives here in Hillsborough as well.
Very cool. So you get to go out and interact with those authors on a pretty regular basis then?
Well, they interact with everybody. It's that kind of town where everyone knows everybody and they don't keep to themselves. It seems like the whole writing and artistic community here is just very much a part of everyday life in Hillsborough. It's just that kind of town. So it's not very hard to get in touch with them. In fact, Lee Smith had told me a funny story recently, which was that her house, which is she has this beautiful historic house right in the middle of the downtown, and it looks very similar to a historic property that is open to the public that is just a block away from hers. And she was saying that her husband hadn't even gotten out of bed, and she was down making coffee when she found these 3 women just standing around in her living room who thought that they were at the other place. So she pulled out some muffins and served them coffee, and then talked with them for a little bit, and then sent them down to the real place that they were going to. So it's that kind of place.
Probably sold a couple of books.
Yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully so.
Is that the kind of town where people just leave their door open so tourists can wander in?
I guess so. Maybe I shouldn't be advertising that about Lee. Hopefully she locks her door now.
I know she's learned her lesson. There's a sign that says, "We're armed, stay out."
Right.
Outstanding. That's all in that town. You said of about 7,000 people, that you've got 80 authors, or is that just in the wider area?
That's just Hillsborough. So you mentioned Stephen Messer before, who's an incredible middle grade author, and he actually he doesn't live in Hillsborough. He lives in Durham, which is just 20 minutes away. So the big city compared to little Hillsborough. So we have that number, that 70, 80 are just in the town of Hillsborough. But then if you grow it out towards the larger triangle area, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, there's just so many more. It's a wonderful place. I mean, for the children's book community, there's a group that we have Kid Lit Drink Night once a month, where just the local children's book authors, aspiring and published, get together for beers one Saturday a month and catch up on all that. So the community is very connected with one another.
You sold me. I'm done with Indiana. I'm on my way.
Yeah, come on. We welcome you with open arms, Rob.
Have you always lived in North Carolina then?
I have, yes. I grew up in the swampiest, flattest, most rural part of eastern North Carolina, which just got socked with another hurricane, as happens down there a lot. But then I went to school at UNC Chapel Hill, and so I've been up here in the Triangle area of North Carolina now for 25 years or more. So
I remember reading in your bio that you've been bitten by a snake, but not an alligator. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, down in Pamlico County in eastern North Carolina, where I grew up, yeah, there are alligators. People see them. I've never heard of anyone getting attacked by an alligator down there. But yes, I got bit by a water moccasin when I was maybe 18 or 19. But that's par for the course. Growing up in eastern North Carolina, I was really lucky. It actually, I was in the water when it happened, and so I thought I got stung by a jellyfish, and it wasn't until I got out that I saw the bite marks on it. And at that point, there was no swelling. It wasn't black, so I knew I hadn't gotten venom in me. But I went to the emergency clinic anyway, just to make sure. And when he measured it, he said, "Yeah, this was a water moccasin. You got bit by a big one, and you got really lucky." Which I feel lucky that I didn't see it. I think I would have been a lot more terrified if I had that image in my head of the water moccasin biting me on the legs. Could
have led to a whole horror trilogy.
Yeah, could have. Yeah. Although I kind of wonder now if since I didn't get venom in me, maybe that's one of my superpowers. I'm immune to snake venom, so. I don't know that I'll test that anytime soon, but.
Well, now that opens up the door to what other superpowers do you have, Jeff Claude Bemis?
Lots waiting to be discovered. I don't know how much it is to put myself in harm's way to discover what else I can do. So.
I like to think that if I develop superpowers, that hooray! Now I'll fly to work instead of drive, but I'm still going to mostly write and then the people are calling out, "Help! Help! We need a superhero." Shh, I'm trying to write here.
Yes.
Maybe after I finish this draft.
Yeah, that superpower stuff, that's not my passion. It's not like writing. So.
Do you plan to stick around in North Carolina for the foreseeable future?
Oh yeah, North Carolina. This is home for us now, and especially this community of Hillsborough. Again, just being surrounded by so many artistic, creative people, and it's the kind of community where when we go to the grocery store, or our little coffee shop, or some of the bars in town, everyone knows your name. Our daughter has grown up in a town where she can go into any shop and people know who she is, and we know them. So it's nice to have a town like that where people know each other's names. So,
I grew up in a town like that.
Yeah, did you? Yeah, in Indiana?
Oh, yeah, a little town called Lebanon, Indiana,
Yeah.
which is not too terribly far, about 30 minutes from where I am now. And that's the double for Harrington, is the fictional town I read about in some of my horror stories. I'm talking about Lebanon. So if I start a new horror story, sometimes I'll hit 30 minutes, go visit some old friends and walk the park and look around and go, okay, yep, I remember everything I need to know. Now I can go write about it.
Yeah, exactly. To draw on that. So, it's nice living in a community like this because, as writers, you can be kind of isolated, especially if you're doing it full time as a gig, and being at home because I have this extroverted side to me. I enjoy the solitude. I love just being in my office all day, but sometimes I just need a little social interaction, and so it's very easy to just walk out the door from my house, walk into downtown Hillsborough, visit some people in the coffee shop, or grab lunch and talk to folks, and then come back and get to work. So it helps me to not be too isolated from others. That
was actually one of my motivations for starting this show. So now I've got a tight-knit community of writers here in Indiana that is my critique group, and I've got friends through the Indiana Writers Center and folks that I know. And I don't know that we have quite as many as Hillsborough, but we're doing all right here in Indianapolis.
I'm sure.
We see John Green walking around once in a while. Haven't introduced myself yet, but I know he's in town. We all feel better just knowing he's here.
That's right.
Where was I going with that? But just this opportunity, you and I were talking before we got started. I've been doing a stay-at-home dad thing, artist, writer life for the past couple of years. And so it's so nice to just have an adult conversation. We're probably not going to discuss Daniel Tiger. It's not coming up.
Right. Because it's true. You need, for most people, other people's jobs, they have the camaraderie of seeing folks every day that they can bounce around ideas off of with their work. And for us, we don't often have the easy availability. I mean, obviously we could get on the phone or email somebody, but it's not the same as just being in a workplace environment where there are lots of other people around. So we have to seek out
another writer. They're probably going to say, John, I'm at work. I can't talk to you now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. This is a bad time. Yeah.
Although, nice thing about my critique group is on and off, we'll do writing sessions together where we'll Skype or FaceTime, and then we'll talk for 20 minutes about what everybody's working on. Then we break for an hour and come back for another 20 minutes. And did you do anything, or did you stare at the internet the whole time? What'd you do for that hour?
Yeah. Yeah.